It's about time you listen to the Shenmue AM2 Podcast.
Welcome back to another episode of the Shenmue AM2 Podcast. We're your hosts, Andrew.
And Matt.
And this episode might sound a little different. Matt and I are not in the same room. We're recording this during coronavirus. Yay. So I'm at my house and Matt's at his house. And yeah, different times right now. It's really weird.
Yup. Are you getting in a shack wacky yet?
No, I've been working from home. Like I work in the insurance industry, so we're still doing what we do just from home, which, to be honest, I'm actually liking the from home more than going to the office.
Yeah.
My office doesn't have a window, so it's really weird. I'm in the middle of a building in the basement, so it's just nice having some sunlight. You're working from home too, aren't you?
Yes, I am. But I am also worried for my job because depending on how long this goes on, you would think advertising is the first thing that will get cut out of most companies.
No, I think you'll be all right.
Well, my wife just got laid off from her job after only a week of this shit.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess it depends what type of advertising you're in. Because you guys can do some planning and stuff and kind of get ahead of stuff for when things, hopefully, knock on wood, go back to normal.
Yeah.
It is for someone that plays video games, though, it's an interesting time because I'm playing a lot more.
Yeah. Us indoor kids have been training for this our whole lives.
Outside of the coronavirus, I don't know, it's not a surprise, but like I had mentioned it a while ago on our Twitter, my mom passed away back on February 3rd. So yeah, that was unexpected. She had breast cancer. She was doing chemo. And one morning, I got a call from the hospital. It was a Tuesday morning, and they're like, "Your mom seems a little confused." And what happened was she had gotten an infection overnight, and it was causing her to hallucinate. So I went to the hospital, and she's like, "Oh, there's my son." And I'm like, "Okay, everything seems normal so far." And then she told me a story of a hallucination she had, or was having, and it was all downhill from there. And that was on a Tuesday, and by I think it was a Monday that she passed away.
Jeez.
Yeah, so it was, a week later we had to make the decision to take her off. And I mean, it, like, the shitty thing is chemo just obliterates your
immune system.
And so not having an immune system, like her, I can't remember the name for a cancer doctor.
Can't remember either.
Oncologist.
Right.
Her oncologist, didn't have any suspicions that she wasn't going to beat the chemo. She, like my mom, was having a pretty bad reaction to it, but so she got a pneumonia, and that caused the infection, and then so that happened, and that sucked, and life's been a little bit different, and having to deal with estate stuff when if your parents don't have a will, make sure you die before them, because the estate stuff is tricky to go through. So that happened about 2 months ago now. It doesn't seem that long.
Yeah, it does.
So, and
I hope you're holding up okay.
Yeah, your grandfather passed away or something, didn't he?
Yeah, he did, but he'd been in like hospice care basically for like a year. So we had lots of time to prepare, and he was 94.
Wow.
Yeah.
And my mom was 63, I think. I should know that. It's I don't know. It hasn't been a great 2020 so far.
No.
And coronavirus isn't helping. So
video games will always be there for us.
In the 2 weeks we've been home, I think I've beaten 6 games so far, and I just started playing Super Blood Hockey, which is absolutely ridiculous. It's literally it's like an updated version of ice hockey for the NES. It is such a throwback. The opening intro is an homage to Streets of Rage 1 for some reason, and it's a hockey game. I don't get it, but it's good. Anything else you want to talk about before we hop into our episode here?
Have you been playing Animal Crossing?
No, I have not. I'm not a nerd, Matt.
Oh, come on. It's just a delightful game you jump into for like 45 minutes every day.
You know what?
It's happy. It's getting people through this.
I've never played an Animal Crossing.
You're a Nintendo fanboy.
I'm not a fanboy. I'm more of a Sega fanboy. I will say, though, anyone that I've heard that has played it is absolutely loving it. And it sounds weird saying this. I don't think that game could have come out at a better time.
Yeah.
Like, everyone being home, I really think a game like that helps people get through this stuff, but also people have the time to devote to it and are having fun with it. And because of social distancing.
It's a jolly game. It's very happy and cute, and it's all about living on a deserted island. And you can still visit with your friends because you can invite them to your island, and so you don't have to social distance in virtual space here on your virtual island getaway.
Yeah. Other than that, yeah, I've just been playing weird games. I'm just picking stuff up. I just beat Kirby's Planet Robobot for the 3DS. I beat GoldenEye for the original DS, which is a weird game. I played through Streets of Rage 1, Mario 3, WCW Backstage Assault for the PlayStation 1. All right, let's hop into this episode. So, Streets of Rage 4 is coming out. Matt and I are both incredibly hyped for it.
Yep.
I picked up the collector's edition from Limited Run Games. Did you?
No. I'm trying to save my money since I just got hosed from this coronavirus thing. I had a vacation planned, and I can't get all my money refunded, so I'm likely out thousands of dollars with nothing to show for it.
Jeez.
Yeah.
That sucks.
Yep.
One thing I've noticed about being home, I'm eating healthier, and I'm spending less money because I'm not going anywhere. So I'm spending much more money on groceries than I normally would, but I'm not spending any money on takeout food. I haven't had takeout food in like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So Streets of Rage 4 is coming out. Matt and I are both pretty hyped about it. So originally, this episode was going to be a review of Shenmue 3 because Matt has finally finished the game.
Yay.
I'm cheering. I'm doing the shaking the hands over each shoulder cheer for you. But if possible, I want to wait to do that review together in the same room.
Yeah, we'll see how long we can put that off.
So we talked about the episode we were going to do after that was just some games that we were really hyped for. Kind of like we're hyped for Streets of Rage 4, and whether or not once they came out, we liked them or not. Obviously, we're going to talk about, obviously, we're hyped for Shenmue 3.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to review that. We're going to review that at some point in time, but just to fill the gap in between.
Yeah, I did not put Shenmue on my list at all, even though the first Shenmue was one of my most hyped games.
Yeah. No, I didn't do any Shenmue on this either. Now, I do want to do you have a list of 5, right?
Yep.
Okay. I also have a list of 5. I want to do 2 really honorable mentions here for me. They both happened at E3. I cannot remember what year. It was the same year. And both of them, it was just the music that, when they were announced, got me really hyped for them.
Mm-hmm.
And
Is this going to be Zelda?
No, one of them was the most clever ways of introducing a game I've ever seen. It was for Nintendo Wii.
Wii Music.
No. And it was they were doing a focus group.
Okay.
And they were talking about first-person shooter games and stuff like that. And they brought up GoldenEye. And then they're like, well, what if there was a new... I'm getting goosebumps talking about it right now. They're like, what if there was a new GoldenEye? And you hear the music, and everyone in the focus group's like, "What?" And it shows that camera pan down to like it did for the first level, the dam in the single player, and I'm just like, Oh my god! So they're recreating GoldenEye, and I got so hyped for it. And then that same E3, and I hadn't really played the originals because I didn't have a Super Nintendo when I was younger. When they announced they were making a new Donkey Kong Country game, and that music hits a dum 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 dum, and it shows it, I'm like, oh man! I got so hyped for those two games. I have to take my. Oh, I also have glasses now, and I'm not a fan of that. I'm touching my face too much, and yeah.
Now your glasses are all greasy.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to keep them clean. It's a learning curve.
Yeah.
So
are those honorable mentions, or are they?
Those are honorable mentions. Yeah,
did they live up to your expectations?
GoldenEye, they really put a lot of work into the first dam level to really pluck at your heartstrings. Donkey Kong Country did. I really enjoyed that. GoldenEye, I beat it once. I haven't played it since. I did play it a little bit online when you could. When I started playing it online, I was like 7-0. I just dropped into my first match and was just shooting people nonstop. And then I'm like, oh, this is really easy, or people are terrible at this. And then I just got slaughtered after that. GoldenEye, it was very interesting. It wasn't GoldenEye, though. It wasn't the original one.
Yeah.
Now
that's weird. They remade it so soon. It was only 2 consoles removed.
Yeah, but there's companies that are getting weird with, like, when you look at Yakuza 1. Yakuza 1 was remastered and remade on the PlayStation 3.
Yeah,
and it was a PS1 game or PS2 game. It was remade on PlayStation 3. It was remastered on PlayStation 3 and then remade on PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4. So my first, and my games are in no particular order here. My first one,
mine are in chronological order.
Yeah, I don't know if I could do mine in. I don't know what order they would have been. My first game I want to talk about is Sonic 4.
Sonic 4. What is? Oh, like the 2D one. I forgot that existed.
Yeah, lucky you. Sonic 4 was announced for the Nintendo Wii, and I was so damn hyped. I was living in my apartment before my wife and I bought our house. I took the day off work, and I literally, the minute it popped onto the Wii Shop, I think it was at noon or 1 o'clock our time or something. I was on there and I downloaded it and was playing it. And back then, I really enjoyed it, but it looked a little weird. It looked kind of mobile game-ish.
Yeah.
And Sonic was kind of floaty. But it was a hard game the closer you got to the end of it. But it was also Sonic 4 Episode 1.
Right.
And they didn't release Episode 2 on the Wii.
Oh.
Yeah. They said the system couldn't handle it, even though it was literally the exact same engine. So then I had to buy it on PlayStation. I don't think I had a PlayStation 3 at the time when it first came out. And then I bought it because I probably would have just bought it on PlayStation 3. And they announced there was the Metal Sonic, not DLC, but like a third episode kind of. But you had to play through both of them. So I had to re-buy the first game on PlayStation 3 to get the Metal Sonic add-on or DLC or whatever you want to call it. And that really burned my ass. I didn't like that at all, that I was forced to buy something to get something for free. Free, like, it was just semantics of doing it. But the game, I really enjoyed playing through the first time. And when I beat episode 2 and did the Metal Sonic stuff. Did it live up to the hype? Initially it did. I just had a bad experience with it, having to buy it twice. Now I buy games twice all the time. But back then it wasn't because I wanted to, it was out of necessity to be able to get the entire experience. And the game was people don't really like how it looked. And we'll talk about that later. Spoiler of something else that I might be
one of the physics. Like, didn't they feel wrong?
Yeah, it didn't feel. I don't know. It felt floaty. I didn't really. I don't know. I didn't enjoy it as much as I wanted to, and if it hadn't been called Sonic 4, I don't think I would have been as hyped for it. It was literally just because they put that number 4 there, and Sonic and Knuckles was like arguably the last like console one that was really kind of side-scrolly good, and I don't know.
It was called Sonic 4, therefore you were hyped, and it was a bad game. But conversely, Sonic Mania is just called Sonic Mania, and it's probably the best Sonic game in a long time. Were you hyped for that before you played it?
Spoilers. You may have predicted something that might be further on my list, Matthew.
Oh, okay, never mind.
So yeah, that's what really all I have to say about Sonic Mania. And so they haven't given it any attention since. They put it on like consoles and mobile. I think it's on 3DS as well. I could be wrong about that. I think I am, but it really hasn't gotten any love since it was released. And Saga's a company that's known to just packet Sonic into any compilation disc type thing.
Yeah.
What's your first one?
My first one chronologically is for the NES. It is it was I think it was 1990 or 91 or something, and I was in the process of moving from Sussex to St. John, where I live now. But in the meantime, we had to live in this like really dumpy house for a month, just while I guess the deal with the house went through. But anyways, I was a little kid and I was living in this crappy house that was not my own, and I didn't have all my stuff, so I didn't really have my NES with me. And I bought, because I was super hyped for it for a long, long time, I bought Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, the arcade game.
Ooh.
And I just stared at that box and those instructions for a whole month before I could actually play it. So I got to know all the art intimately.
So
the cover of them busting through the wall on their skateboards and stuff.
That's exactly how I was picturing it.
Yeah.
So were you hyped for the release date or hyped just once you bought it?
It's so far back that I can't remember if I was aware of it before I actually got it. If I did know about it, if I did know that it was coming, then yes, I would have been hyped. I'd played the actual arcade game in an arcade, and that blew my mind. So just the ability to play that on my NES, even though it's very different, was very cool. And so yeah, I remember just staring at that box for a month, and it definitely lived up to the hype. It wasn't like the arcade game. I mean, the levels were all there and stuff, but it looked different, it played different, but it was still way more fun than the first Ninja Turtles game on the NES. And yeah, I had a good time with that, so thumbs up.
Nice.
The hype was warranted.
I'm still on the fence. Like, I would love to get one of those arcade 1-up turtle machines.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if I've ever told you the story about... You've been to Bob's Corner Restaurant here in St. John, right?
Yep.
And they have a Turtles in Time arcade machine.
Yep.
And Bob's is this greasy spoon, hole-in-the-wall burger restaurant, fish and chips place. It has picnic tables on the inside. It is great.
It's got taxidermy covered in dust.
Yeah, it has taxidermy on the walls. It's
got People magazines from the 70s.
It's a time warp. But anytime I'm in there, I always, Peter, the guy that runs it, I always jokingly say, I don't even have to tell him what my order is. This is how old school of a place it is. I walk in, he says the usual. I said, yeah, and then he goes, cheeseburger platter, just ketchup, cheeseburger on the side, bottle of Dr. Pepper. And then I always make some sort of joke about how I'm going to steal the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles machine from him, or I just offer him money for it. And then once I found out with the arcade 1-up, we were just talking about stuff, and I showed him. I was like, "Hey, Pete, I got something to show you." And he's like, "What? You bought a Turtles machine?" I'm like, "No, but they're selling one now." And I was like, "It has the other Turtles arcade game in it too." He's like, "Oh, you don't have to get mine anymore." I was like, "Well, no, I still want that one too." Yeah. So I'm just jotting these down here so I can keep the episode notes. And that was Turtles. So would you say you like Turtles?
I like Turtles.
again, in no particular order, Splatoon for me.
Really? What made you so hyped for that? New IP, I assume, at the time?
It wasn't that it was a new IP. Back in the PlayStation 2 era, I did play a lot of online shooters. I was into SOCOM and Medal of Honor games on PS2. I hadn't really played a whole lot of online since then. I don't know, just I played SOCOM with my buddies, and I don't know. It was a different experience back then. And I was watching the Nintendo E3 Direct, or whatever you want to call it, press conference. And they were talking about Splatoon, and I'm watching it. And I try every year to get my wife to watch the E3 Nintendo thing with me. Mm-hmm. And this year I had watched most of it. And then I think it was getting later at night or something. We were just laying in bed watching it. And we're watching the Splatoon thing. And I'm like, this is really neat because it's a team game, but everyone's contributing in different ways.
Yeah, you don't have to be good at shooting.
You don't have to be good at a shooter game to be good at Splatoon. You can just paint. Mm-hmm. And then, it shows how you can swim in the paint. And then how, someone on the other team could be in front of you and they're, not facing the direction they're running away from you painting. You could be right behind them covering up the paint that they just laid down, right? So not only are you putting down your own paint, but you're eliminating their paint. And they said it was 2 players from the same console. And my wife was like, oh, yeah, because, again, my wife she's not an avid gamer. So this is something that she can play and doesn't necessarily have to be good at a shooter. And it blew my mind. It was bright and colorful. And I got so hyped for it. I was like, that's something I'm buying. I usually stay true to existing franchises for a lot of my video game choices. Or if something's very similar to something I already know, like Super Blood Hockey, it's essentially an ice hockey clone. That's why I purchased it. It was on sale in the eShop. Yeah. And this was something that I took a chance on, and I had a blast with it. During coronavirus here, me and a couple of my buddies are actually going to... Actually, do you have Splatoon 2?
No, but Kyle does.
Okay, yeah. I'm looking to actually... Because I think you play on teams of 4. So, if you were to borrow it from Kyle or something, 2 of my buddies have it, and I think we could actually get a Splatoon team going together. Because I've had Splatoon 2 for the Switch for a year now, and I've never played it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's the first one. It just lived up to the hype for me. I had so much fun with it because you have matches where you don't do very well, and then you have matches where you're just like, oh my god, I was the MVP of the team or whatever, and it's again, I wish it had voice chat and stuff. Splatoon 2 kind of does, but I had a blast with it. It definitely lived up to the hype.
Cool. Yeah, I did borrow it from Kyle for a bit, but I only played solo, and I solo wasn't super fun, but maybe it's fun doing the team battles.
Oh, the team battles are great.
Yeah.
They're great. What's your number 2?
Number 2 is another sequel. This one I definitely knew was coming and was hyped for it. And again, it's another arcade port. Back in the day, guys, you don't understand, you young kids. Arcades were an entirely different beast. Unless you had a Neo Geo, you had no hope of playing a game that looked or sounded as cool as an arcade game. So anytime you went to the arcade, you're just blown away by all the games. They all look like they're from the future. And then they'd come to your console and they look not as good, but they're still great. They're still fun to play. So number 2 was Mortal Kombat 2.
Ooh.
On Genesis, because I played the first Mortal Kombat. I loved it. Mortal Kombat was a phenomenon at the time. Everybody couldn't get enough of it.
I did a university report on it.
You did.
On video game violence in video games and how it impacts society and what society did to.
What were your conclusions?
Didn't really have a conclusion per se. It was more presenting the information about it to our classmates. It was pretty neat. And how the ESRB came to be and all that.
Which is, I think, thanks to Mortal Kombat.
It pretty much single-handedly is, yeah.
Yeah. But, so I really enjoyed it at the time. So I'd say at the time it held up. My hype was justified. I played the shit out of that game. But going back to it now, it's not very fun. Every character has the exact same moveset except for their special moves. It's very clunky, doesn't flow well, but it looks and sounds great though. It's got a great atmosphere. Mortal Kombat 2 had the best atmosphere of all of them, I think.
Who's your main character you normally play as?
I don't think I ever settled on a main one. I really liked Reptile and Raiden, and I liked Shang Tsung because I liked to, and like back then when games were so simple, I'd invent stories for myself while I played these games, basically. So I'd pick Shang Tsung, and every time I won a match, I would do his Soul Steal fatality, and then the next match, I would give myself permission to use his morph into that character that I stole their soul, even though I could morph into any character at any time. I'm like, no, canon says he has to steal their soul first. I'm like, all right, I beat Melina in match 1. Now I can morph into Melina if I want, basically, that sort of thing.
That's
making your own fun back then was half the fun.
Very, very deep. Just on the topic of, did you ever play the original Dragon Warrior on the NES?
Yeah.
Me and my cousin Brian we would go to the town of Cole. It was like spelt like Kol, and there was a little room, and we would it was like it didn't serve a purpose, but again, just making your own fun. We would have a competition as to see how many characters we could use our character to block which direction they walked in, and eventually how many we could cram into this room. And it had nothing to do with the game. It was just fun that we were making up for ourselves.
It's like The Sims when you trap them in a room with no exit, and they speed it up and they die of starvation.
Wow, deep. Took a turn, Matt.
You never killed your Sims? You never put your Sim in a pool and then removed the ladder so they couldn't get out and then they drowned into...
I'm not a nerd, Matt. I don't play The Sims. It's my go-to response for everything.
Not a... Yes.
Also,
no, 'cause I'm not a nerd.
Also, I remember, Matt, before we were recording, I couldn't remember what my 5th game was. I remembered what it was now.
Okay.
And I can't believe that I fucking forgot that it's the number one. I was introduced to Mortal Kombat 2 by my cousin playing it on the Game Boy.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember unlocking Smoke or Reptile by only kicking before the question mark.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It was fun.
Game Boy. That would have been rough.
Mortal Kombat, I could beat Mortal Kombat 1 on the Game Boy, which is Mortal Kombat 2 on the Game Boy isn't actually that bad of a game. The first one is a fucking dumpster fire. But I could beat it on the hardest level without getting hit almost by just spamming the same. I can't even remember how I used to do it, but you could essentially spam the same move and just beat the entire game. Mortal Kombat 2, that's a good one. My next one is, just crossing these off here as I go. I don't know which one of the series I want to pick, but I guess I'll just kind of say them all. Smash Bros. Yeah, from the Nintendo Wii one on. Mm-hmm. It's, oh my god.
I remember being hyped for the first one just because of that commercial where they beat the shit out of each other.
Me and you.
Yeah.
See, I didn't even know the first one was coming out. I just happened to play it at my friend Eric's house, and I loved it. I remember the commercial, but I don't know. I just didn't link the two together in my brain, maybe. But when they had the build up for the one on the Wii, how they did it, they would just drop one piece of information every day on that Smash Bros. Dojo site.
Yeah, I remember following that.
And it would be something as simple as, here's a piece of music that we're going to do, or some things were very minuscule, and then sometimes it would be a level or a character or a weapon or an assist trophy or something and just literally I don't know if there's been a build up to a launch of a game as good as the Smash Bros on the Wii.
Yeah, I still remember the day. I remember the day they announced Sonic.
See, I remember Sonic and the snake when he's in the box.
Yeah.
Oh my god, it's so good. And
it was out of nowhere. It was just they just posted, on some random day, hey, Sonic's in our game.
Yeah, it was the build up to that. The breadcrumbs they would drop each day were incredible. And again, it wasn't so. You could almost get the feeling that today's wasn't that big of a morsel. What's tomorrow gonna be? It was literally an addiction for me. I remember being at work and seeing they announced the pirate ship for from Zelda Wind Waker, and I hadn't even played Wind Waker at this point in time, but seeing that the tornado could come and pick up the boat, and I just remember explaining it to my boss, and he's like, he played video games, but he wasn't like super into them, and I'm just like, Jay, like, come watch this trailer, and he's like, what are you doing? You're supposed to be working. Why are you watching trailers? I'm like, ah. But yeah, the build up to that was amazing. Obviously, me and my buddy Ryan, we both had the day off to go get it. We ordered it the opposite EB Games, so we had to go to both of them here in St. John. They're just across the street from one another for some reason. But yeah, and we just took it home and we played the hell out of it. And it's obviously lived up to the hype. And I was one of those people where once I started playing it multiplayer, I'm like, okay, if a little CD appears on the screen, everyone stop fighting. Someone pick up the CD. We'll go back to fighting. Because there was ways to spam to get them by turning all items off except for the punching bags and then turning how much stuff comes out of the punching bags up. Yeah. But that game absolutely blew me away. Smash Bros. For the Wii U, when that came out, it launched simultaneously with the 3DS version. My wife and I got her playing Smash, and we ended up buying, because we were going to New York, and like on an airplane you need something to do, so we went to the midnight launch. I got the Wii U version that came with the controller, not the controller, the GameCube 4-player adapter. We got 2 copies of the 3DS version, and I still have a title belt too. They gave these cardboard title belts, and I came home, we played the hell out of that, and it was amazing. And then the one on Switch has been amazing as well. They're great, but I wish there was more build up like they did for the one on the Wii. The character announcements, they're always fun, and if you ever need a good laugh, watch the character announcement videos live from Nintendo New York.
Yeah, you've seen a few of those.
They're priceless. People losing their shit over such. Oh my god, they're great. But Smash Bros. Was all of them since then have been fantastic. They've all lived up to the hype. What's your next one?
My next one is one of the only times where not pre-ordering a game really bit me in the ass. Where I was really hyped for this game for some reason, and there wasn't a copy to be found in the city, and I had to wait like almost an extra month before I could get my hands on it. Like I had my mom going around to every store in the city looking for it.
Well, let me try to guess what this is, because I'm intrigued by how you...
I don't think you'll ever guess.
What system was it on?
N64. Maybe you can guess now.
First party or third party title?
First party.
Is it gold cartridge Ocarina of Time?
No, I'm not that huge of a Zelda fan. I did have Ocarina of Time though.
Early Nintendo 64 or later Nintendo 64?
I don't remember. I think it was like mid-gen.
Single player or multiplayer?
It's got a multiplayer mode.
Star Fox 64?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes. So I was so hyped for that. I have no idea why. Because I didn't own Star Fox on my Super Nintendo. I'd played it a few times and I didn't love it. I don't know what got into me that I wanted Star Fox 64 so much. All I remember is I was very hyped, and I don't know why. I don't know what sort of preview or magazine like turned me onto it, but I wanted to play it so bad. I wanted to experience Rumble. It came with a Rumble pack, and that was the first time that ever happened. So yeah, and I never pre-ordered it anywhere and didn't get it until almost a month later. But when I did get it, it totally lived up to the hype. It's probably my most played game on N64, and I love that game to this day. It still holds up.
How do you do a barrel roll?
That's not actually a barrel roll that he makes you do. That's like a aileron spin or something. I can't remember the name of of it.
But how do you do it?
You just do it.
Yeah, but I can't believe you're not getting this. How do you do a barrel roll, Matt?
Don't you double tap one of the shoulder buttons? I don't remember.
Press Z or R twice.
Yeah.
Come on.
Well, I remember do a barrel roll. I
used to
remember
help
that,
me
but
like
I don't
that,
remember
Fox.
what he said after that.
Fox, get this guy off me.
Hey, he was mine.
Uncle Andros. That guy's name
Royce.
Can't let you do that, Star Fox. I don't know if we've ever talked about this on the podcast, but I was really drunk at a bar one night, and me and my buddy, Ryan, we cast the Star Fox 64 movie.
There's a movie?
No, but who would it be?
Oh,
who would play?
Who would voice
And
them?
like Star Wolf is clearly Val Kilmer. And like Star Fox was who was Star Fox? Oh, I think it was Tom Cruise. Slippy Toad, I think, was Steve Buscemi. General Pepper was Sean Connery. Yeah, no, that game does hold up to this day.
Yeah. Makes me sad they never really continued releasing proper sequels. They've done maybe one or two, maybe. They did one for the 3DS and then like a sort of a remake, didn't they?
There's the DS version, and then there's the 3DS one is a different game entirely. And then there's Star Fox Assault and Star Fox Command. Is that what they're called?
Yeah, it sounds right.
For the GameCube, and then there's Star Fox Zero, which apparently I bought that the first day it came out. I have the box set that came with this weird tower defense game too, and I've never played either of them. I purchased it. I've never played it.
Why?
Maybe that'll be one of my next games that I play during coronavirus.
Yeah, you should.
But the DS one it's essentially the same game. Or no, excuse me. I have that backwards. The DS one was the different game. The 3DS one was a remake.
Okay.
Star Fox 64. They were both good games. Other than the DS one has a very unfair thing where you need to wipe away clouds off the screen to see missiles coming. Yeah. But if you don't wipe in the right spot, you can't see the missiles behind the clouds. So it's purely luck. Unless you look it up on the internet. That part really frustrated me because there's no skill to it. It's literally just luck.
Yeah, I haven't heard good things about the other games after that. That's why I never played them. But I want a nice new Star Fox game on the Switch.
Yeah, it would be. I'd love a new Star Fox, like a good one.
Yep.
All right. My next one is Sonic Mania.
Oh, nice.
When I saw the trailer for this game, I've always been a Sonic fan. I think every mainline Sonic game there is. The 3D ones, I don't think I've beaten any of them. I've dabbled in them a bit. The handheld ones are really good. For the most part.
Ones, you mean?
Well, Sonic Advance and Sonic Advance 2 are really good. Sonic Advance 3 is really good as well, but it gets really hard at the end, and I haven't beaten that one. And then the Sonic Rush and Sonic Rush Adventure are fantastic games. The adventure part of Sonic Rush Adventure is not that great, but the actual levels are fantastic. And then Sonic Colors on the DS is just like the other two. It's not like a 3D game like Sonic Colors on the Wii. It's a fantastic game as well. They kind of complicate things with the Wisp system in it. And then Sonic Generations on the 3DS has been great, and that's where I have the ones since then, the Fire and Ice games. I don't think they're very good. I haven't beat them. But Sonic Mania, once they announced it, it was one of those things kind of like Streets of Rage 4 where you're just like, how in the hell did it take someone this long to realize this was a great idea?
Yeah.
And it's fantastic. It absolutely lived up to the hype. My big gripe about it was that it didn't get a physical release, and then it did get a physical release, and I had to buy it again. I didn't have to. the original one I got on the Switch, and then the physical copy I got on the PS4.
Yeah.
But that game is so damn good. It takes, like, from the past, pays homage to those games. My only gripe is that the levels are a little too long. I would rather see 3 shorter levels than 2 longer levels. And I think, I can't remember who it was. It might have been, I saw someone do a review of it saying, like, the levels don't necessarily mean as much when there's so many pathways and they're so huge. But I thoroughly enjoyed it. It absolutely lived up to the hype. And just I can't even remember how it was announced or where I saw it originally. But just being like, oh my god, they're just making an 8-bit or 16-bit Sonic game. This is incredible. And yeah, it was so good.
Yeah, I played it. I really liked it. Sonic 2 is one of my most played games of all time. But besides that, I really like a lot of Sonic games, but you're probably a bigger Sonic fan than me.
See, for the original ones, I'm a huge Sonic 1 and Sonic CD fan.
I can't play Sonic 1 just because of the no spin dash.
The newer versions have it, though.
Yeah,
they've remade it with the dash in it. I don't need the dash. I've only ever beaten Sonic 2, I think, once.
Really?
I played it through on, like, one of the compilation discs where you could do save states. I don't think it would have been able to beat it without the save states, especially that thing where you're jumping on the airplanes near the end of Sonic 2. That was really difficult for me. But yeah, it was. They're all good. I mean,
except Sonic Forces, that was free on PS Plus this month or last month. I gave it a shot. Even free, it's not worth playing.
I have it. I haven't played it yet. I picked it up for the Switch. I found it dirt cheap somewhere.
It's terrible. My next one, I blame all my hype on someone else for this one. An infamous hype man of his own games, whose promises seldom deliver. Can you guess this one?
What system?
The original Xbox.
Original Xbox. Console exclusive?
Yep.
What type of game is it?
An RPG.
Is it one of the Fable games?
Yeah, it's the first Fable game. Yeah, Peter Molyneux, the infamous game creator who makes all these promises and they never come true. But that was the first time I had heard of him. The only thing he had done of note before that was Black and White on PC. But yeah, I just kept reading in all these magazines, these interviews with him about all this crazy stuff he'd be able to do. I can't remember a lot of the stuff he said, but I remember specifically planting a tree in a town when you're a child, and when you grow up, that tree will be large, or putting poison in a well and killing the whole town through poison. But there was so many other things that he said you'd be able to do, and just like these procedural things that would happen and stuff, and it all sounded so next generation, and none of that was in the game. And despite that, I still really enjoyed the game. It was a lot of fun. You just couldn't do 90% of the shit he said you'd be able to do.
So it was still really good. You still really enjoyed it. It just didn't live up to the hype. It wasn't a bad game per se.
Yeah. It was a really good standard video game, but he sold it like it was going to be the next coming of Christ. So the only thing that really happened that kind of wowed me at the time was you can kick things if they're on the ground. You can kick chickens, but you can also kick a severed head. So I kicked a severed head and it went through a window into a pub, and I just heard everybody in the pub screaming.
That's pretty fucking awesome.
Yeah, that was the only natural procedural thing that ever happened to me that made sense and was impressive. But that game has one of.
I think you just gave me an idea for an episode, because there's a lot of stuff in Shenmue that really wowed me.
Yeah,
where I'm just like, oh my god, how did they? I think we could do an episode on just stuff in video games that has wowed us. Yeah,
probably. I'd have to think about that for a long time, probably. But oh yeah, I was gonna say it still has one of the most memorable side quests I've ever done. And I was trying to play you can play good or evil. Usually I play evil, but in this playthrough I was trying to, like in any game, I play evil given the choice, just because usually you're not given the choice. Usually they're like, you're a good guy. But this time, for whatever reason, I was playing a good guy. And I started a quest, and this guy, he gave me a quest where he said he wanted to marry off his daughter, but she likes men who look a very specific way. So he's like, go buy this suit. And you go buy the suit, you put it on, you're like, oh, this looks weird. This is not a cool suit. Go buy this hat, this hairdo, this mustache. And so you do maybe four of these things, and you come back to him, and you look ridiculous wearing all the stuff. And then he's like, and then you're like, basically, okay, so can I meet your daughter now? And he's like, I don't have a daughter. I just wanted to make you look ridiculous. And he just laughs at you. And I was playing a good guy, but I had to kill him.
That's awesome.
So that one was one of the most memorable quests I've ever done in a video game. It was pretty creative. It made me feel emotions. Made me feel shame and embarrassment and rage.
I just thought of another honorable mention. Telltale Walking Dead games. The first season of that, I was so fucking hyped.
Yeah.
Those, when they were releasing them episodically, like, I would literally, the day it came out, I would download it before I went to work, and then my wife and I would get home, and we'd turn the lights off, I'd play it in the basement, I'd play, and we'd make the decisions together. Yeah. And, that was good.
Did you finish that whole series, like right up to the last one?
I'm in the final season. I have it. I just never finished it. I played the first episode of it.
Oh, you should finish Clementine's story.
Oh yeah, there was decisions I think it's the second season when you're at the ski lodge and you find you run into Kenny again.
Oh, which table to sit with?
No, hug, what do you do when you see Kenny? It was just hug Kenny. I couldn't hit that button fast enough.
Yeah,
to hug Kenny.
Yeah, I hugged him too. But then shortly after that, there's two tables. It's like, do you want to sit with Kenny or do you want to sit with your old friends or your new friends that you just made?
Yeah, I don't know. It was an interesting game.
Yeah.
My number one, and again, these aren't in any particular order, but this might be number one. Link's Awakening for the 3DS.
The 3DS.
The new version of it. Watching that Nintendo Direct and seeing that trailer, and I'm getting goosebumps talking about it, and just seeing it shows the water, and then you see the boat, and it gets smashed, and the minute the boat got smashed, I'm like, oh, there's no way this is Link's Awakening. And I'm sitting here yelling at my computer screen. I'm so damn happy. I'm just oh my god.
I thought this was a Switch game.
It is.
Oh, you said 3DS.
Oh, I meant Switch.
Okay.
And I saw it and I'm just like, oh my god. Because that's the first Zelda game I ever played as well. And again, my cousin Brian had it on the Game Boy. And I immediately messaged him, and his just response was, well, I'm buying a Switch. I don't think he's bought one yet. But my god. And there was it didn't leak or anything that game, they were just talking about making a smaller scale Zelda game than compared to Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh yeah, whatever. I kind of figured that's how they would do it, is kind of do the console style one, then a handheld style one. And this announcement came out of nowhere and just blew me away. And I'm looking at him the art. I didn't have any problem with the art style like some people did. And again, it was a day one purchase. And the minute I got home, I popped it in and played it. And oh man, it was so good. And it was, again, one of those games that really pays homage to the content. Added a few little things that were all
quality of life.
Yeah, quality of life stuff that, again, not having to repeatedly pause the game because it only had 2 buttons. That's number one. It's on the 3DS version of Ocarina of Time where you can just put the boots on and off in that water temple. It's just, oh man, so much better. But yeah, that game was incredible, and I cannot recommend it to enough people. It more than lived up to the hype for me.
I almost bought it, but then I heard a lot of people had frame rate issues.
It does have frame rate issues.
Oh.
It's nothing terrible, but
Okay.
yeah, it shouldn't have frame rate issues for what it is. It does. But it's my God, it's still.
That's probably the original one is probably the Zelda I enjoyed the most. That and Ocarina of Time are probably my most played, but
yeah, that's for the exact same for me.
Yeah.
I think Ocarina of Time was the second Zelda game I ever beat.
Mm.
And I really hope they redo Seasons and Ages, Oracle of Seasons and Oracle of Ages the same way.
Yeah,
because they have the engine now. There's no reason for them to not do it.
Yeah, they would just get. I don't know if they'd need permission from Capcom or what.
Yeah, that was a weird time for Nintendo.
My last one is.
Hold on, let me guess. Is it Phantasy Star Online 2?
No. I'm hyped for that, but I'm not super hyped because I know a lot of people have played it and they say it doesn't really feel like the original game, and the feel of the original game is what I want to get back. But no, this game is for 360 PS3.
Is it Alan Wake?
No, I was actually.
That was Xbox exclusive, wasn't it?
It was.
Consoles.
Alan Wake is one of my favorite games ever, but I was actually not hyped for that at all. My brother was hyped for that, and I looked at gameplay videos and I'm like, eh. And somehow I ended up with a copy of it. And Melanie was going to play it, my wife, and she got a few minutes into it, and then somebody took a swipe at her from behind, and it scared her. She's like, I can't play anymore, and she gave me the controller, and then I played it, and I loved it. But yeah, I was anti-hyped for that game.
Oh, I think I know what it is.
Okay.
Is it Street Fighter 4?
Yes. Yep. I've got over 2,000 hours in Street Fighter 4.
That is ridiculous.
And I bought, a couple different arcade sticks to play it, and I went to tournaments all over the Maritimes and, in the Maritimes fighting game community and stuff, and met lots of people. So that was a huge game in my life, and it was the first Street Fighter game since Street Fighter 3, which hadn't performed very well.
Street Fighter 4 was the first Street Fighter game since Street Fighter 3?
Well, I mean proper Street Fighter game. There was like Street Fighter EX and stuff, and there was the Capcom Versus series, which had lots of Street Fighter characters in it. It was the first proper Street Fighter game in a long time, and wouldn't you know it, right before it came out, like the day before it came out, I went climbing with a friend of mine at the college here, and he got me to belay him. So that's when you have the rope and you hold them so they don't fall. You have their rope attached to a clip in your belt, basically, and you have to hold the rope below the clip. And he was upside down on the ceiling, and he dropped real fast, and I had never done this before, and he dropped, and it just yanked me right up, and just instinctually I grabbed the rope above the clip, and all the skin on my hands was gone. And so my hands were red pulpy messes, and and then Street Fighter came out the next day, and my hands were just gauzed and bandaged, and I still tried to play it, but it hurt.
It's funny seeing, like, when you're describing that happening to you, I'm picturing it in my mind because I've seen it happen to someone before.
Ugh.
But what it was is we used to rent out the North End Community Center gym to play ball hockey.
Yeah.
And the basketball nets that you could, like, reel up so they wouldn't be hanging down, they'd be up against the wall.
Yeah.
Well, my cousin Brian, there was a rope, and it wasn't like a mechanical one. It was literally like a rope that you pulled and like wrapped around like a thing that like sailboats have type idea.
Yeah.
And my cousin Brian just yanked on the rope for some reason. The whole basketball net came down. I don't know how the thing didn't fall off the wall.
Oof. But
he held on to the rope and it ripped him up for a minute. And we were there to play ball hockey, and his hands, like you said, were just a red pulpy mess. And has his hands in the drinking fountain trying to like cool them off. And like obviously he couldn't play ball hockey, and yeah, he had to wait because like no one had to drive home for him, so he had to wait to go home. But yeah, that would suck.
Yeah, it was terrible, and I wanted to play that game so bad. But,
did you, when you initially played it, did you try it on a controller or on
an arcade stick? I wouldn't have been able to play it on a controller at all. That'd be even worse because you have to scrunch your hands together so close. On an arcade stick, you can spread your fingers apart, and I could use my pointer finger and my thumb and just kind of wrap around the joystick and then just tap the other ones with the open hand, basically. But so that game definitely lived up to the hype, and I love it, and it gave me many good times, and I met many good friends from the fighting game community. And yeah, so most of my games, I think all of my games, I was satisfied with. All the ones I was hyped for, I came away satisfied. The only one that doesn't hold up is Mortal Kombat 2.
Mine, looking at the list, it's really Sonic 4 was a disappointment, but the other ones have all been above and beyond my expectations. And Sonic 4 initially met them. I eventually got burned on it. And looking back, I mean, it's when you have something like Sonic Mania, when I was talking about it, you're, comparing the two, like Sonic Mania blows it out of the water.
Yeah. I guess maybe TMNT 2 doesn't hold up anymore. I probably wouldn't be able to go back and play that and enjoy it, but at the time it was great.
I think we could.
It's very simple. It's only, it's no Streets of Rage 2 or anything.
Yeah. So what console do you plan on getting Streets of Rage 4 on?
Oh, I don't know. I still have to decide. I mean, it makes sense to get it on the Switch, but I want to see it on my nice big TV in 1080p, and the Switch only do 720, like no matter what?
I don't know off the top of my head.
Yeah, I don't know. All I know is I put like Smash Brothers on my big OLED OLED TV that I got, and you can, once you blow it up to that big, you can tell the fidelity's not as good as like a PS4. So I don't know. I just want to see those sprites beautiful and huge, but it'd be good to have it on the go. I don't know. Yeah,
the limited edition I bought, I got the PS4 version, just because it's limited run games, it's not going to be out day one. So my thought process behind it was, if I buy it on the Switch first, I can take it on the go. But if I'm going to play it 4 players, I'll probably want to play it on the PlayStation, PS4. So, that's a game, I really look forward to playing with you. And, I want to try it 2-player first.
Yeah.
And then 3 or 4 player from there. But it's not a game that I want to play through the first time by myself. I want to play it with you or my cousin Brian first, just to get that experience, because playing through Streets of Rage 1 or 2, or 3 for that matter, I guess, by yourself isn't the same experience.
Nope.
And I don't know, who would you say you played the original, your Streets of Rage the most with? Would it be your brother Kyle?
Yeah, I played most games with him. Yeah.
Do you find when you play a game that has, I say this in air quotes, friendly fire, where you can hit each other, now, if Brian and I were to pick up that game and play it, we don't hit each other at all the entire time, because we're just on the same wavelength, and I imagine you and Kyle are probably the same. But when you're younger, or if you and I were to play it right now, I don't think we'd have that same chemistry immediately. It's something that I want to sit down and play with 4 players. Something that does bum me out about it is, now that they've released the limited run games and you see what the artwork and stuff is for the cover, you know who any other characters are going to be DLC.
Yeah.
Or
who were you hoping to see?
Max.
Well, the new guy is like Max and Dr. whatever his face combined.
Yeah, but he's not Max. I'm so hyped for this game, though. I cannot wait for it to come out.
Yeah, we still have no idea when that's happening, do we?
Second half of 2020, but again, with COVID-19 happening, who knows for that? But it's man, I can't wait. I don't know if there's any other games right now that have me that hyped.
For me, Cyberpunk. That's all I can think about.
Have you played the beta for Phantasy Star Online too?
No, it's only on Xbox.
It's not on PC?
The beta's... I mean, the game is going to be on PC, but I believe the beta was Xbox exclusive.
Is it a day one purchase for you for the PC?
No, I'll wait for the PS4 version. I really don't like playing on my PC.
I don't think there's going to be a PS4 version, though.
They said there will be. It's just I'm going to have to probably wait more months. I can wait. I've waited this long. And like I said, I'm not hyped. I'm not super hyped for it just because I did play the Japanese version on my PC a little bit. And from that, I could tell it doesn't have the same magic the original one did.
Do you notice, because I haven't played any of the online ones, if I could find it for a reasonable price, and that's the problem, is it's insanely expensive, the GameCube version of it, you can play
local
couch co-op, and I would love to play that with you.
That'd be great.
Yeah, I would love to just see what it's like. If I find it cheap, we'll do it.
Yeah.
Because we could do it on a, you sold your Nintendo Wii, didn't you?
Yes.
Yeah, I could plug in, just get a Wii, and when that has my Wii has GameCube ports, and play it that way. It'll look better at least because I have component cables.
Yeah,
if
the
component
Xbox...
inputs are even a thing on whatchamacallit, on televisions now.
I think the original Xbox version of PSO also had couch co-op, but you couldn't even boot it up without a subscription to the online service.
That game is a coaster now.
Yeah.
It's like, I just bought it because again I was trying to get all the Sega games on the original Xbox, but it is a coaster. It's useless.
Mm-hmm.
There and collect dust on the shelf. So I think we could do an episode about just stuff that has wowed us in video games too, because there was a lot of things in Shenmue that wowed me. You mentioned waiting for Phantasy Star, and like you've waited this long.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't pop into the Shenmue group chat dinner thing that Corey Marshall did last night, did you?
No, I didn't.
There was someone talking how they hadn't played Shenmue back in the day, and they had just played the re-releases.
Yeah.
And it's like, and he had just played those like 3 months prior to Shenmue 3 being released. He's like, those were like the 3 longest months ever. Yeah. And I'm just like, how can you say that? How can you say that here with all of us?
And like, this man.
I was just like, I was waiting for someone to light him up, but like everyone was pretty cool about it. But it really made me like just be like, oh, bud, you have no idea. You have no idea. So I think that's it for this episode. We will do. I would hope to do Shenmue 3 in the same room, but if not, we can. If it, we think it's going to be delayed, we can figure something else out. You can see us on the social medias at Shenmue AM2 Pod on Twitter, Shenmue AM2 Podcast at gmail.com, youtube.com/Shenmue AM2 Podcast. Like, Facebook, subscribe. We're almost at 500 subscribers. We only need 2 more on YouTube.
Whoa.
We picked up a couple recently. And don't really have a sponsor this week. Just hug your mom. Do it. It sucks when they're gone, and you can't just hug your mom, hug your parents, hug your family.
Not right now.
Unless they're not in the same house as you.
Yeah.
Social distancing, just Skype, do whatever. And everyone stay inside. If this coronavirus thing, if you're listening to this in the future, I'm glad we beat it, or we're all zombies, one of the two. So that's it for this episode, guys.
All right, thanks, everyone.
Bye.